Hello everyone, welcome back to another Market Watch episode with me, Nishi on MST.TV. Today we're going to be looking at a few different cards that have skyrocketed in price recently because of the ban list. I didn't want to make this video immediately after the ban list dropped because it can take some time for the market to settle down and for us to see what a stable market price for a certain card is. That being said, these prices still aren't 100% settled. We don't know for certain what the best decks of the format are going to be, especially with a new set dropping in like just over a week. However, a lot of the time when a new ban list gets dropped and certain cards are made playable again or more playable, there's an exaggeration in the market. Card prices can hit like ridiculous levels, and it can take some time for them to dial back down, which creates the perfect opportunity for us to sell cards and then buy them back later at a lower price. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down where some of these card prices have jumped up to and give you guys my thoughts and opinions on where they're eventually going to settle at and what I think you guys should do with those cards. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so first up we have Yugioh Emeril. Emeril is a card that is newly unbanned after being forbidden from the Zodiac format. If you guys played back then, you probably remember Emeril cycling back 2 copies of Rapier so that they could perform the same combos again next turn, as well as allowing them to draw an extra card. Or if you were like really cool, you used Emeril to summon a Blue Eyes or some other vanilla from your graveyard, but probably not that one. Anyways, Emeril saw some crazy initial price points when we first saw that it was off the ban list. We were seeing like the cheap versions hit anywhere from like $20 to $25, but now we're seeing the gold and shatterfoil versions as the lowest readies being at around $14. The secret rares are currently between $18 and $20, and the highly sought after dual terminal version is currently like $55. Personally, I think that this card is just like super overhyped. It's one of those cards that's always been good, and I think it's still a good card, but it just got abused too much by Zodiac. And in today's game, I don't really see like anything coming up that's going to be able to make it and abuse it very well the same way that Zodiac did. I mean, just thinking about it like off the top of my head, Pendulum Magician can make it and they can recycle Electromite, but that's it. Kind of underwhelming there. And Salamangreat can make it instead of Abyss Dweller, but like there's nothing really that you want to shuffle back except for maybe a few extra deck monsters in Salamangreat and so on. Also, I'm pretty sure this card is most definitely going to be reprinted by the end of the year, either in Fist of the Gadgets or Dual Devastator. So Fist of the Gadgets, Fire Fist and Gadgets are both decks that are very easily able to make rank 4 monsters. So I think that this would kind of be like a natural card to include there. Also, the card is like generic, and I could definitely see it being included as one of those extra deck cards included in Dual Devastator. So that being said, this card's like a definite sell for me. I know personally I have a few copies that I'm definitely going to be trying to move over this weekend. I'm expecting the prices of the dual terminal version to drop to around $35 or $40, and the prices of all the other versions to fall to maybe $8 to $10, maybe even less if the card is going to see as little play as I'm expecting it to. Okay, so the next card that we have that's now unbanned is Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. It's kind of crazy to think that a Dragon Ruler is now unbanned, but I guess the OCG was fine with it for like a while, so they decided to take the jump over here in the TCG as well. So when the list first came out, Tempest was actually bought out to the point of being $10, but now it's settled down to being around $4 for the rare and $5 for the secret. I'm not too sold on how much this card is actually going to see play. I think it'll be a factor in decks that play like the Guard Dragon engine, or maybe something like Harpies that play wind monsters, but ultimately I think it's only going to see play in like really niche decks, especially with other Dragon Rulers still being banned, which will stop the prices like from going anywhere crazy. Also, even though it's like a secret rare, it was just printed in a Megatin, so it was like pretty widely accessible, especially because Megatins are some of the product that's open like the most every single year. That being said, I'm expecting the secret to remain pretty steady at around $4 to $5, and maybe the rares dropping to around $2 to $3. However, One thing I would recommend, a lot of people, I know you guys have like banned cards lying around in like a collection, or maybe you have like bulk because you were like, oh, Tempest, this card isn't playable, I'm gonna throw this out. I would definitely try to fish out your copy of this card and sell them for like $4 to $5 if you can. Alright, next up we have Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, one of the more infamous cards in the game. The dual terminal version of this card is actually pretty infamous in and of itself, in that it's one of the most expensive possible cards you can get from a dual terminal machine. So the buyouts happened primarily regarding dual terminal and ultimate rare printings, with the dual terminal currently sitting at around $130 and the ultimate being at around $50 to $55. Historically, we've seen DT Trish sit at anywhere between 60 to 80, maybe pushing 90 or 100 depending on the demand, and the ultimate has actually been at around $35 to $40. However, Trishula has always been like a fan favorite card and it's really highly collectible, so I think that the prices are actually going to stay higher than they were before, though not sustain the current prices that they're at now. I understand that there are a few people that are trying to abuse Trishula to hand loop your opponent turn 1, but I feel like these are really niche decks that aren't going to see too much competitive play. And if you are playing a meta deck, you're probably only going to be playing the one copy of Trishula. So I think that the dual terminal version is ultimately going to settle at around $100 just because of how collectible the card is and how hard it is to find. And I think that the ultimate rare is probably going to sit at around $50. I'm kind of looking at it similarly to Max C, which doesn't really have too much of a competitive impact on the meta. Well, Max C has zero competitive impact because it's banned, but it still holds a high price point because of how collectible it is. I think that these high rarity prints are definitely going to hold on to a good chunk of their value, but not the super high prices that we've seen over the last day or two. If you guys are looking to pick up a copy of the card just to play with, or I guess like 3 copies, remember that there are multiple other printings of the card in Hidden Arsenal, High Speed Riders, Battles of Legend, or Duelist Saga, and they're all currently sitting anywhere from $3 to $5, and they're actually much more affordable. Alright, next up we have Elemental Hero Stratos. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the Ultimate Rare version. The card was previously sitting at anywhere between $30 to $40 when it was limited, but ever since it got semi-limited, it was bought out a lot and is currently sitting at around $60. I think that the demand for this card is actually going to be really sky high, especially for heroes as an archetype, but also just the card itself being extremely popular, and people are going to want to bling out their decks with this copy. There are the ultra rare and dual terminal copies available, which are currently sitting at around $5, but they're not quite as nice as the ultimate rare is, being the highest rarity. Actually, so while I think this card may dip in price a bit, I don't actually think it's going to dip by very much. I think that the demand for such like a popular, iconic card, combined with the chance that there's a very solid chance that the card could be unlimited on an upcoming ban list the same way that it was in the OCG, actually suggests to me that the card price is going to remain steady at around $55 to $60, maybe as low as $50. I look at this card very similarly to Ultimate Rare Atlantean Dragoons, a card that saw natural price increases when it went from 1 and then to 2 and then to 3, even though the deck wasn't necessarily meta, but rather just because of how iconic the deck is. So it feels weird saying this because I don't typically recommend people to pick up such high dollar cards. However, I do think that the card is going to dip a little bit, and I think that at that $40, $45, maybe $50 price range, anywhere from there, if you are able to pick up the card, I would do so and then hold on to it. Hero support, like, there's always a really strong possibility that more and more hero support is going to come out, and the price is just likely to go up from there. Alright, so next, Super Polymerization went from being semi-limited to unlimited, and personally I think that's really scary. Like, a spell speed 4 card that can wipe an entire board at 3 is like pretty devastating. I think that the card is going to see like a fair bit of play. It can be used in control decks like Subterror. It can see play in certain odd decks like Zombies or Invoked, and even just like see play in regular side decks even. So the card has increased in price for all versions across the board. Currently, we're seeing secret rares going for about $25. The super rares from the OTS pack are going for around $20. And like even the commons, which were reprinted in a structure deck as a common, right? They're going for anywhere from like $8 to $10, which is like the price of the entire structure deck, which is insane. However, the card is destined to fall in price. That's set in stone because it does have a reprint confirmed in Dual Devastator later this year, which is definitely going to drive the price of the card down. I think that when by the time Dual Devastator comes out, all of these prints are going to be at like $5. The secret rare might be at around $10, but the Dual Devastator version is also going to be holo. It should be an ultra. So it's not even like the OTS pack is going to be the only easily accessible holo version available. Therefore, the decision of if you guys want to hold the card or sell it is like entirely up to you. If you guys want to play Super Poly and it's something that you guys don't want to have to go out and find an alternative to, or you don't want to play other decks, or you really want to play this card, go ahead and use it. But like just know that the card's price is going to gradually decline. If you aren't planning on using it at all, then I would definitely sell the card sooner rather than later, just because of how high the card price is right now. Alright, next we have an extremely old card in Solemn Judgment, which lets you pay half of your life points to basically stop anything that your opponent does. This card's actually seen a lot of play over the years. It's really, really old, yet somehow still relevant, and there are many different printings of it. So the two most expensive versions of the card are the Retro Pack Super and the original Metal Raiders First Edition print. I put question marks here because like there are versions of the card that are listed as available online, but just because the card is listed for a certain price doesn't mean people are necessarily willing to pay that. And just because someone has bought a card at that price before, there's no guarantee that it'll sell again. Like that, it's pretty easy to like use that as a trend for meta cards because there are always people who want to pick it up. But I feel like the demand for a card like a Retro Pack Super Solemn Judgment or an MRD Ultra First Ed Solemn Judgment is very, very limited, right? Like those cards are really, really hard to find, but also really hard to sell. So if this is a card that you have, it's probably something that like holds sentimental value for you and you guys are going to keep it. If you guys do have a copy of it like just sitting around and you aren't attached to it in any way, I definitely look into trying to find someone who's willing to buy those cards for like maybe 80% of what that like listed price is, because it's going to be very, very difficult to find someone who's willing to pay full retail value on a card like this. But yeah, anyways, we have also a few other prints. We have the Ghost Gold Rare version, which has typically only been like at most a $10 card, currently sitting at around $35. And the secret rares from the Legendary Collection we have at around 10, where they were usually at around 5 to 6. And then we have a few other cheaper prints, right? Like we have the common from structure decks, we have a rare version, and we have the Battles of Legend print that's an ultra from last year. And all of those prices are currently sitting at around $2 to $3. I think that the price of these cards is kind of going to depend on how much play we see from Solemn Judgment. It's still like a strong card, it can stop a lot of things, and it will probably see play in like control decks, or maybe like a combo deck where you just play the 3 Solemn Judgments as the only back row, just as like a bit of precaution. But like ultimately, I think that the cost is too much. Like paying half of your life points now for a single negation is kind of like a really, really big cost, especially with cards running around like Utopia Double or Nothing. I don't think that the card's gonna see like 0 play, but I don't think we're gonna see an like excessive amount of play. And I think that the card's gonna gradually fall in price as the format takes shape. I think the Ghost Gold Rare is gonna hit down to that $20, maybe $25 price point, probably like 15 to 20, and the secrets are going to drop closer to $5, and then we're going to see those cheaper prints settle back down at around maybe $1 or $2. And finally, last card we're going to talk about here, we have Rekindling. Rekindling is something that was limited, but is now unlimited. However, the card hasn't actually seen any play in the meta even recently. and Lavelles probably aren't going to be doing anything anytime soon. However, what I've heard from a lot of people is that they're discussing the card as potentially being played in either Salamangreat or Fire Fist. I don't think Salamangreat are a top tier contender. I'm not too concerned about them. However, what we do have is Fist of the Gadgets coming out with a bunch of Fire Fist support later this year. So it might just be like perfect timing. Maybe we're gonna see Rekindling played as like a soul charge in that deck. Maybe, but like this is all purely speculation. No one actually knows anything for sure because nothing's been confirmed. So anyways, the super, which has typically sat around that $8 to $10 mark, is now sitting at a whopping $40. And the dual terminal, which was only like a $1 or $2 card, is currently at around $5. Personally, I would not be investing in this card. I would try to sell these cards as soon as possible. There's nothing concrete to suggest that the card will be relevant in the meta. For all that we know, they could have unlimited it just to clean up the ban list and get off like unnecessary cards. I think that $40 is a bit too much to invest blindly into like a single card on the off chance that new support might be coming in. So it's definitely something that I would sell. I mean, like, maybe people are right and the deck is broken when new Fire Fists come out, but like at that point I'd be happy with selling the super rares for that $40 now and then just playing with the commons or dual terminal version later on. Okay guys, so that's it for this episode. Ban lists are always a lot of fun because cards always seem to spike up in value whenever they're taken off the list. This has happened like a lot of different times before, right? There are a few times where I've gotten to take advantage of it. Like for example, Snatch Steal, when that card first came off the ban list, like it was banned for so long. No one thought that Snatch Steal was going to come back, and then it did, like out of nowhere. So right away, I got in my car and I drove down to our locals to go look through their binders, and I was able to get 17 ultra rare copies of Snatch Steal at $2 Canadian a piece. That's like $1.40, $1.50 US. Obviously I gave like a few copies like to Thomas and Oscar and like a few of our other friends for really cheap, but like afterwards I sold 5 copies of it for like $20 each, and I made like my money back right away. So it was like a great pickup for me. Yeah, so like everyone was pretty hesitant when it came to Snatch Steal. It didn't go up like crazy high in price because there was like a common print available, but hype can be a wonderful thing in the right circumstances with the right ban list. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion here today. If I was helpful and maybe at least a little bit informative, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button to check out all of MST.TV's content. And be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what cards you guys are most excited to see come off the ban list. Maybe what cards you guys are going to hold on to and play finally for the first time in a long while. Or maybe sell for like a massive profit. And yeah, as always, until next time, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.